All right, so today's video has a lot to do with David B on R, what he put into my comment section today. Right now, many are working unpaid because of the government shutdown. Air traffic controllers are working unpaid right now. Working hard at a job is idiotic. Well, he's not wrong because a lot of people have to work really hard. In fact, whatever you just saw in that animation was probably working harder than you did. Of course, the animation was requested also in the comment section. But when you look around in a society, like I was just at Kroger's and I walked over to the deli, and the person working behind the counter was disguised in toxic positivity, upbeatness, and I asked her, I think it was a her, I couldn't really tell. But I I I was kind of taken aback by the belief that they could just start a YouTube channel and that everything would be fine. And I think that's the fallacy that a lot of people fall into, is that you think that you can just do something. Being a YouTuber is hard, not as hard as working in the deli, because when I worked at Kroger's, it was one of the highest turnover positions that they had because it's a disgusting job, often only done by single mothers or people who have reached truly the bottom of society. There's working in retail, and then there's working in retail in the deli. So I talked to her for a few minutes, and then I walked down the aisle and I ran into another Kroger's employee, and I said to her, isn't it strange how there's always that same little white car in the parking lot? And she looks at me and she's like, yeah, it's like they live here or something. And then she laughed nervously. Anyhow, with that said, I hope that you guys enjoyed that. Let's get into our opening monologue on the idiocy of working hard in an economy that doesn't work for you. You ever notice how the people who work the hardest always look the most tired, broke, and replaceable? Like the American dream turned into a corporate meme nobody finds funny anymore. We're told to hustle like billionaires who've never clocked in, to grind ourselves into dust for jobs that wouldn't even send flowers to our funeral. Somewhere along the way, working hard stopped being noble and started being the slowest form of tormenting yourself humanly possible. Because that's what it is. I use this term, phrase, whatever you want to call it, all the time. The only way to get people motivated at work is to attach a car battery to their nether regions, because otherwise they show up angry, disgruntled, on the verge of homelessness, hungry because they didn't get their food stamps. And that, I'm going to keep saying that in every single video because it's cruel to not give people who work so hard the money that they need. It is absolutely cold. It is heartless and cruel because these people have children. They go to work every day. They need that money because the corporations won't pay them enough to live. They know what they're doing, and it's intentional. Corporate welfare. They talk about all the welfare queens out there. They're the biggest ones. They don't want to provide health, what you call it, child care for the single moms. They don't want to provide you a halfway decent health care. Everything seems like it's just a discount code or isn't real. Like the ladder of opportunity to climb out of the low rungs of society. In fact, today I was walking to my car while I was at Walmart and I was thinking to myself, it wasn't too long ago where I was riding my bike to Walmart and the only thing I could carry was what I could carry in my backpack. I spent my entire life like that, where if you needed to go somewhere, you better get on a bus or walk. Yesterday, when I was coming home from work, I saw a woman in extremely high heels and black leather pants and a little backpack walking down Baseline Road, and I was thinking, where are you walking in that outfit? And we all know, chances are, in that outfit at that time of the day, she wasn't out strolling for a good time. Or maybe. Who knows? It was dodgy. All right, let's get into talking point number one. They told you to work hard, but forgot to mention the part where Every extra hour you grind just delays your eviction notice. The modern economy isn't a ladder, it's a treadmill with inspirational quotes taped to the front. You don't climb out of poverty anymore, you just learn to run faster while standing still. And this is the problem is that I think I was in kindergarten when I first started being told by my teachers that losers don't try hard at school. And you think about that. From the moment you enter the system, the public school system, or whatever school system, they instill into you that working hard benefits you. Get straight A's, go to the right school. You will be successful if you work hard. Whereas if you're lazy and you're not devoted to education, one of the biggest markers of failure at life is a person that grows up and doesn't like education because it's literally training you, institutionalizing you to be for it to be inside your brain that good things happen to people who work extremely hard. And I assure you, that is not true. I've met people that are working 7 days a week, and guess what? They're not getting ahead. In fact, they're going in the opposite direction. And I think someone wrote in the morning, this morning, early morning, that the quality of life needs to be diminished for the vast majority of Americans. Imagine that. They're telling you that you need to live much lower than you've been living in past decades. They want you on the verge of starvation. Why? Because it suits them. It suits those people that buy yachts and live in mansions. Because why have people who demand a certain quality of life, a living wage? You have the audacity to ask for a living wage when you're being paid $15 an hour? That's ungrateful. That's a proletariat member that needs re education. That's someone that needs to be crushed into oblivion because asking for things is the main reason why we have an economy where corporations will not invest into training people anymore. I was actually watching a video of this today while I was getting my hair cut. For some reason, it got recommended to me, and it said that over the past 30 years, corporations have realized it's a waste of money to invest in their workers. Because why hire someone that needs training when you can get the same person? You can take a person that has everything you want and can start on day one with zero training, and they will take a job for $15 an hour because they have to. Why would you waste your money hiring someone that just graduated from college? Any person, let's say 40 and under, why would you take that person when you can take someone that already knows how to do the job, does the job well, and is afraid of losing their jobs? All of that makes for a worker that's going to come in, work hard, and get things done. When you hire new grads, they are, in a sense, entitled to this idea that they deserve a living wage, or they deserve good benefits, or they deserve to have some sort of financial safety. What this economy right now offers nothing. Absolutely nothing. You're watching people who have worked for 10 to 20 years in the same position and get hacked off because they're too old and expensive. What they want is for that same person to reapply for their old job, except making $15 an hour. And that's not me being crazy. That's why there's a million people who lost their jobs just in this past year, just in the past 11 months. And the reason for that is they want to cut costs. They want everyone to work for $15 an hour. Hell, they'd like everyone to work for free if $15 an hour is what they're willing to pay, because $15 an hour in this economy, it's not taking you places. In fact, it's only taking you to one place, living in a cardboard box. So let's let's get into talking point number 2. We've hit a point where people are proud of surviving their jobs instead of living their lives. You clock out at midnight, sleeping dead, call it hustle. The rich call it character building, which is funny coming from people who inherited both their money and their air conditioning. Well, that got pretty dark. I'm not going to deny that. But character building. This is that whole idea of starting out at the bottom and working your way up, like that guy who said that anyone could go from zero all the way up to being a millionaire and then had to give up because of health reasons. You think it's easy living in a cardboard box and glorifying that everyone in America has the opportunity to be a millionaire? If that were true, why would 40 million people be on food stamps? It's not true. That narrative that they've been telling us since I was little isn't true. It's an indoctrination so that you believe that you're going to win. And as I call it, it's not the American dream, it's the American lottery ticket. That's why in the year 2025, you can't walk into a grocery store anywhere in America and not see a poor person who can't afford to buy a lottery ticket buying a lottery ticket, because it's better than not having any hope at all. Because hope has been, I guess, monetized, because the more they feed you the idea of being able to be prosperous, look around. I mean, if I walk around in my apartment complex right now, I would say that the nearly all the cars of people who can afford to live here or not afford to live here, they're all promobiles. Ford donuts, a busted windshield, peeling paint, 20 years old. And these are the chariots of the poor. I used to call the city bus the chariot of the poor. That's that's actually a lower tier of poor people. And I was on that bus my whole life, so I know it personally. The sights, the smells, the disgusting nature. The city bus has basically become a rolling homeless shelter. Ordinary people do not ride the city bus because it is gross. And there are a lot of people who, you know, you wouldn't want to run into, let's just put it that way, on the city bus. And there's a reason for that. It's there for them. They don't create, at least not in my area. I know you people in New York and back east, you guys love riding the train and the bus and the subway and all that crap, right? In Arizona, we don't do that. If you're on the bus or on the light rail, it's because you have to be, or for some reason you thought it was going to be a lot different. Sometimes people just ride it as a form of entertainment. When I was living on the street myself, I'd get on one side of the light rail, one side of the city, and I'd just take it because it would take hours and it kept you out of the elements. That's why I used it. A rolling homeless shelter. But with that said, I don't think there's anything else to think of other than it's just ridiculous the way that poor people see life as having all of these great opportunities. If more opportunities were available in this world, we wouldn't have poor people. Talking point number three. They keep saying no one wants to work anymore. But what they mean is no one wants to be underpaid, overworked, and humiliated for survival. The economy's broken, the rent's a joke, and the only people getting promoted are the ones who never had to apply. Working hard isn't a virtue anymore, it's a system of denial. I built an entire channel, hundreds and hundreds of episodes with that title. I think using that title so repeated is one of the reasons why my last channel was demonetized, because I used it every day and I was getting thousands of views. Towards the end of my channel was growing exponentially, and then it got cut. Then it got cut off like a hand with what would you call it, with poop on it, right? It's rather than clean it, you just cut it off rather than having to clean it. So that's what happened, and that's what it was. Is I kept doing video after video after video about not people not wanting to work, but asking people to work in a dignified place, in any place. Every job should come with dignity. Every job should come with the ability to be able to support yourself. There shouldn't be a job in America that doesn't support human life. And you're going to say, well, MillennialSteam, well, high school kids take those jobs. No, they don't. Your dad does after he loses his job working at the plant for 20 years and suddenly he's too expensive. He tries to find the equivalent job, but all those other companies also cut those jobs. Do you know why? Because they don't want to pay people. They don't want to pay people anything. So now you're 50 years old, and I just told you guys a story about this, and this is very real to me because it just happened to me last night, where a man who was highly educated, worked hard his whole life, has a family, a bunch of kids, a wife to support, a mortgage, and kids getting ready to go to college, and bam, his job suddenly doesn't need him anymore. And this is a story that's been repeated around me for years now, where they think they have security. You don't. And you never will. In an economy that doesn't value workers anymore, you better be ready to hit the skids at any point. Because there's something that I've understood with, and by the way, for those of you who keep asking me about working at McDonald's, I have to say that. Remember, names and locations have been changed in all of my videos to protect the guilty. And the reason I have to say that is because people that I don't want watching my videos watch my videos. And so I have to say that. Today I'm working at Taco Bell. Just putting that out there. And that's the way it works. Is that people who are... I'm not even going to finish that sentence. I'm just going to continue. I have to say that. Let me just put that out there. So stop asking me about that. In reality, I have a very, very, very stressful job. And I don't know how else to put it. I spend hours working on projects sometimes with very little instruction, and I have to get it done. There's no instruction book. There's no training. There's no nothing. These types of jobs are very unique. In fact, I'm the only person that does this job. And that's the strange part. I'm the only person that does this job. And that's just the way it's been for the past many years. In fact, I'm getting ready to have my 5th birthday right now at that place, at Taco Bell. But yeah, it's when you talk like I do in these channels, there's always going to be some hazards. And the reason for that is just the society we live in. It's toxic. It's gross. Going to work has very little meaning. And the inspiration for this video was the only person working hard in this economy is Fleece Johnson. Because Fleece never is going to go to work without all the enthusiasm in the world in his pants. Because that's what he does. He keeps giving it to you at Pound Town. You may not want that job working at Chipotle or working in retail, working at the mall in a store, but if it's the only job you can get and anyone can do it, is there any value in that job? Absolutely not. But you still have to work. And that's what sucks, because no matter what you do, unless you're rich and unless you're a successfully rich person, Fleece shows up. And he does terrible things to you. Someone mentioned in the comments today that work is no different than getting taken. And in fact, there was one comment today that really stood out above all of them. What does capitalism mean? It means capitalizing. Capitalizing on the suffering of other people. It means capitalizing on the desperate, on the needy, on the people who can't get out of the way of the $15 an hour job. There are tens of millions of these people. We call them the 99%. Capitalize on their failures to be successful. And imagine that the 1% get to capitalize on the booty of every person that's not part of the 1%. And you know what represents them? Fleece. Because Fleece never stops getting hungry. He's always got to capitalize every moment that you think it's not going to hurt. The second you slightly bend over, guess who's there? With a big grin on his face and ready to work hard. He's their man. You are just the target. You are the person who didn't make it, right? Like myself, you're all failed rich people because somehow the wheels of capitalism didn't turn our way. Instead, we got capitalized upon. And that sucks to say it. But I never thought of the word capitalism in that way, in that you take advantage of the people that simply don't have other opportunities in their lives. They don't know anyone. Their family doesn't know anyone. Their dad and their granddad, for generational poverty is a real thing. Systemic poverty in America is a real thing. America cloaks itself in being a first world country. It's not. You know why? Because the 99% don't live in the first world. Only the 1%. You don't get to live in the first world just because vicariously you get to enjoy that because you're close to people who have big houses and giant gated communities or live in ridiculous places, right? No. I live in this disgusting little apartment complex where this morning I had to fix my own plumbing because the apartment complex won't fix it. And I know because they didn't fix my sink for like 4 months. And I thought to myself, well, the water's not going down the pipes. And this actually came to me last night. It's like, I can just fix it myself. Because just like my tub that's needed to be resealed, since I moved in, they won't do it. There's black mold in my bathroom. They won't do it. Why? Because it costs money. That's why. And any capitalist will tell you, money's more important than anything else. You got to lay off 100,000 people in a Zoom meeting. You'll do it. You know why? Because even if you fail and you're an executive, you still got your golden parachute on. You're not going to leave hungry. Whereas the person who was, again, cleaning the floors of the adult theater place with a spoon, that guy's disposable as hell. You don't care if Johnny Sixpack doesn't have a job, or Susie Rottencrotch is out behind the Taco Bell in her part-time job after working an 8-hour shift inside the Taco Bell. And in fact, a lot of people do this who work in fast food. There are other jobs in the parking lot. With that said, let's get into the closing monologue. So yeah, keep working hard if you want, but remember who benefits when you do. That system runs on your exhaustion, your loyalty, your belief that one day all this suffering will mean something. It won't. The finish line isn't moving. It's gone. The real rebellion is rest. The real revolution is refusal. And the biggest scam in history is convincing you that burnout is the price of being a good person. Now that's capitalism's favorite joke. And we're still the punchline. I don't know, guys. I work with different prompts with ChatGPT every single day. In fact, I recreate them as often as I get tired of them. Sometimes it will start doing the same thing for me. My videos are more often than not inspired by your comments because you guys put some stuff down there that I could make videos all day long if this was my full-time job just based on my comment section because you guys are out there. You guys are out there in the trenches. There are people who are watching my videos right now, and again, I'm going to keep coming back to this, that didn't get their food stamps this month. And they're not going to get them as long as Big Orange decides that we need to stay liquid. I don't know what that means. I I can infer too many things from that. But that's what he told the courts is that America has to stay liquid by not feeding people. I mean, you could take 5% out of the military budget, maybe cut things like tax cuts for the rich, maybe tax the rich a little bit, maybe tickle them with a little feather, and get the rich to start dropping some money, just reach into their pockets and take it. But no, we can't do that. because of capitalism and winners. So if you're a loser like me and you're out there right now, tell me what it feels like. What does it feel like to wake up in the morning and realize that you're a grade A loser and no one cares if you can't afford to live right now?